like Fibonacci sequence. When we look at the follicular growth, how it grows out of the scalp, it still grows just like any other neuromelanated person on the skin. They're still able to be in the sun and take the sun just like we can. I've never seen an albino that stems from the same origin as we do not be able to synthesize the sun's information. I only see that happen for the Dravidian albinos, which is how the so-called Caucasian man actually got here, is literally from the splicing of them. Like if you look at the Dravidian or the Indian, so-called Indian albinos, that's how the YT man got here. Genetically, the Asian man would be first. Next in line would be the Dravidian, and the Dravidian is how the YT man got here. Mexicans, Cubanos, these Spanish people, these Portuguese that are so-called tan, they express their DNA like that as a byproduct of us mixing with them. After we mixed with the Asians, when we mix with the Asians, the Dravidians, and the YT people, came about all these other people. So that's why I have this on the screen here with totipotency when it comes to embryology and all the cells in your body and how they replicate, right? Totipotent stem cells are the only cells that are known to differentiate into any cell in the body. But as you go down the chain to pluripotent or to multipotent stem cells, this is the potency goes down to be able to replicate, to self-replicate. That's why I talk about totipotency versus the ovum. Ovum and egg cells are synonymous with white people, Asian people, because they have animal DNA, cows, horses. You see what I'm saying? But when we look at how our cells replicate, when we look at the structure of the cell, the functionality of the cell, the fact that our cells are coated in neuromelanin, which is the only biochemical substance that can condense sunlight and is condensed sunlight on its own, that's what would make our cells a totipotent stem cell, because it's the neuromelanin that actually constructs the suit. Right? It is essentially the morphology behind the cell that also coats the cell. And my source for that I'm always going to use is the power, Why Darkness Matters, the Power of Melanin in the Brain. And in this book, it literally talks about the brain melanin is genetically programmed to a function at different capacity depending upon a person's overall genetic capacity to produce melanin. I just opened the book and flipped to that page. I didn't even mean to, but that's just a source right there. My source for that, T. Owens Moore in 1995. His study from 1995 would prove that the brain melanin, aka neuromelanin, is genetically programmed to function at a different capacity depending on a person's overall genetic capacity to produce melanin. These people don't produce the same melanin as us, right? That's why they phenotypically look different. Their cells don't differentiate the same way ours do because it doesn't have the potency in order to do it.
Okay. Now, question. Are they producing melanin, or would they be producing like carnogen? Like, it's not melanin. It would be something different, or I'm just asking.
Yeah, there are 8 different types of melanin, 5 that are natural or basic, and 3 that are synthetic. So these other people have synthetic versions of melanin. Like, for instance, ants have pheomelanin. Lions have pheomelanin. Right? Ants, you'll also see ants with eumelanin, because eumelanin and pheomelanin are on opposite ends of the spectrum. So depending on the amount of radiation within the atmosphere or the environment, these two things will turn into each other. But when we look at these other people, they have the synthetic version of pheomelanin, which is called in vitro pheomelanin.
Okay.
Or in vitro eumelanin. So Yakub equal created Caucasian Asians, has Caucasian Asian from, yeah.
Do another thing too that Now, I was reading an excerpt where they were talking about this genetic manipulation and things back in the 1700s. I need to find that, man. Where they were doing this stuff. Would that make the people on the planet, because I say I'm here in America, but like, would that make the people on the planet, would that really make them like people? Like, you understand what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
So genetic engineering is pretty broad. You know what I mean? They had to start small with insects and trying to mutilate the wombs. There's actually a source on the screen here that talks about a butterfly where they were literally injecting silicone into their wombs to basically stop the sexual responses to males in their environment, like to their own men. So when it comes to all the genetic engineering that's taking place on this planet, it gets very vague because it starts out with the creation of the eukaryotic cell being done in a petri dish, but the splicing of microorganisms, small insects, small plants, it goes beyond the 1700s. It would literally take us back almost to the 9th century, because you have a group of people that are tampering into robotics, genetic engineering, tampering into this high science tech, but then you have these regular YT people that were on all fours. And that's because there's an entity behind all of this and they're not all the same. You have people that are inhabiting the suits because the suits don't really hold light like that, so light can be bended. That's explained in what's it called? Dark. I can't think of the book. Can't think of that book because it breaks down the classical mechanics behind their suit and how it can be inhabited by other beings that are depicted on the Sumerian texts and things like that. But yeah, these people, all the genetic engineering would add up to be like 400 to 600,000 years worth of splicing when we look at everything. So their genes being 6,000 years old, it took 400 to 600,000 years to basically get to the so-called modernized human. And that's why we've seen life like change in the last 6,000 to 7,000 years a lot on this planet, because they figured out how to basically, you know what I'm saying, create this organism from being on all fours to gaining bipedalism.
Okay, so now dealing with what you just said, do you think that's what this whole, when I say this whole thing, like as far as here in America, do you think that's what this whole like beef is about? This control, like this power, like, do you think it's oh, what is that?
Hmm? Maybe.
I'm sorry, I just see what is that, the caterpillar or the
Yeah,
butterfly?
I was getting ready to talk about this next. So this is
Go
actually
ahead,
a
I'm
Yeah, this is actually a moth, and the moth is in this womb. You can see it on the left, but you can see how they've genetically altered, or I won't say genetically altered, but they've altered the environment of the womb, where they now have the moth operating in half of the womb instead of the whole thing. So when people are talking about artificial selection, this is what this is in evolution. They're this man, right? Or YT man, Asian man, these men are taking things out of its natural habitat and altering its environment, which then creates these so-called adaptations. But like I just had on the screen, the butterflies, they were taking them out of their environment to inject silicone into their wombs. They did the same things with birds. They actually genetically altered a bird to have a fake womb. It's called for birds cloacus. right? So they've genetically engineered cloaca. So this is what I mean. They start with this small insect like a moth. Then they're able to work their way up to a bird, or then they're able to work their way up to a monkey. Then they're able to work their way up to these different animals, these different insects. So that's what I mean by they start small. A small moth and a caterpillar like this, then also altering the full grown state of a butterfly. You know what I mean? When we look at everything, grapefruits are genetically
Yeah,
because of the
probably.
fact
Yeah.
that, yeah, that these people were, you know, and then we can think about the creation of viruses, like how these viruses are the same since like the Justinian era. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, so all of it is letting us know that there's an entity that's been splicing for a long time.
And manipulate. Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Because when I just seen something not too long ago concerning what you were talking about, that's what made me bring up the albinism. Is because a lot of research and patents were destroyed here in a time, and I just believe that a lot of this is just being regurgitated. And some things whistleblowers are blowing. You know what I mean? They're doing
Mhm.
their thing. But my whole thing is right now. I'm just trying to get to the end because I'm not under. I really don't understand what really what it's all about. Like really, like what is it all about? Like you said, the biggest is the evolution the biggest lie. You know what I mean? Like what's the purpose of saying that we come from a primate when it's not that? It's I believe it's just a particular mankind comes from there. Like there's has to be a distinction. You know what I mean between the skulls and everything. There has to be something that shows. You know what I mean. And I think that's what the problem truly is, man. Because there's creatures that we call people that they know for a fact that they're animalistic versus I know everybody's a mammal if you're born a certain type of way, but you're more in tune with being versus a being. Like we're a being, and I'm saying we're, but I'm just being. I'm talking to people. Period.
Yeah.
You know.
So, yeah, you're asking like, what's the point of this? Like, what's the point of lying, right? Like, what's the point
Right. Right.
of evolution?
Right.
Well, the point of lying is because this entity is trying to play so-called God or the black woman. See, the black woman can create 48 different known shades of herself, but her cells, even on an atomic level, beyond the cell itself, down to the atom, down to the morphology, the causative formation for everything, she holds the chemical key for creation. So patriarchy is meant to mimic matriarchy, but patriarchy is meant to mimic the black woman, right? The black woman is literally the most powerful thing in the universe. And I'm saying the so-called black woman because that's the title we're using today. It's no title that we could really put ourselves into. But this is the electron is the singular most powerful thing in the universe. It single-handedly is. And like I said, electrons pass photons to other electrons. We pass light on to each other. So this is the
Oh wow.
reason for breaking up the division between the mother and child, the replication of herself, the division between women, because we literally, when two women are working together, they're, if you look at what's happening with the morphic fields, they're passing literal light back and forth to each other. And it's a biogenetic origin. It's not spontaneous generative, right? Like these other YT women, like how they try to embody and how they stole matriarchy for us. That wasn't real matriarchy. They were cosplaying us, right? When I hear women
Uh-huh.
talk about like, oh, well, should we let the white girl wear box braids? If you wore your natural hair, it wouldn't even be a question now, would it? If you just wore your afro, if you just wore your natural hair, she wouldn't have shit to cosplay because her genes would express like what? Her hair would fall down to the ground. like a dog,
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
goats. So it's meant to allow an unnatural organism to host off of our energy because it's the most prized energy, the most prized possession in the universe. Our totipotent stem cells, our adrenochrome. This is the reason why the so-called black girl, our black women, go missing the most out of anyone on the globe because her cells literally create life. She holds the chemical creation, the chemical key to be able to do it. So they use that in the background to create orgone energy accumulators, black body radiators to power up this tech that they're using to measure the activity that's in the skies. And a lot of it is breaking down and destabilizing because it can't withstand the UVC radiation that's been ground level for the last 11 years either. So you worried about her wearing box braids, but her cells are being broken down by the sun. The nucleus is being removed. So I always talk about the mutations that they're undergoing. I just posted one, werewolf syndrome. You know what I'm saying? AKA
Okay.
hypertrichosis. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
That's
reason for it. Facts, my sister stepping in the comments. It's a parasite. I was getting to that, and you reminded me
yes.
of all the relationships in nature. It comes down to three. One of them is parasitism. A parasite feeds off of a host organism, and the host organism gets deteriorated. So we've never had a mutualistic or a commensalistic relationship with these people ever. I don't know why people are saying love who you love.
To
I don't know
to
why we're
keep
saying
propel.
that.
I'm glad you said that because that is to propel the agenda that you just said. Because what happens if they keep if people keep loving who you love and keep doing that, then eventually the parasite becomes one with the original. It's going to happen, and
Yeah,
that now
we're
you
not
lose.
gonna. Mhm.
I'm listening.
Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like I got some. We have the real Kool Aid, and then we have that Kool Aid that the YT made and the other people made, and it ain't. It's just not the real thing. You ain't gonna have it as
Mhm.
that's how it makes me feel because I just don't understand. Well, I'm beginning to understand. It's just like that show on. I hope I can say this on Netflix. Parasite. It's basically what it's like without the
Mm.
superpower.
You talking about the anime one?
Yeah, yeah. No, they have an actual
Yeah.
real version on Netflix that you can watch. It's
Oh
called
yeah.
Parasite.
Yeah, I heard that they have the real version on there, and then I've seen the anime version. Like, just cause you told me that, I'm finna watch it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
literally, I'm
yeah,
gonna watch it today.
it's lame, but it
Yeah.
makes me think that way because I just don't understand why the people. But then when I was listening to Mr. Slim the other night, a few nights ago, and he was teaching on albinism, and it's like every other country that's when I say because a Caucasian is nothing but they're still Asian. The white T man is still an Asian.
Mhm.
He's just a Caucasian. He's still Asian.
Mhm.
So even with the Africans, they're Asian. That's all Asiatic people. However, like my lineage is different. I'm legendary. You see the name. So we've always been here. We've always been here, and you do find some in the Navajo and the Hopi. However, those people are still they're the ones that cross from over there. So in my head, if you have like this is just one genetically these people don't have it, but the rest of the world have it. It's like a fungus. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it, but it's very weird because that it's what he said is OA1 through 7. It's an albinism that everybody, the Dravidians, everybody you name, the Japanese, everybody. And then it shows how they evolved after 3 generations from the albinism to what we have. I would consider where I am here, in the States, a regular person walking around. You wouldn't know, but really, that's fur. Really, that's, it's like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know, man. I'm
Well, I
just
know
glad
what
I
you're
came
trying
in
to
here.
say. I know what you're trying to say. The thing is that you know. Yeah, like the brother said, here we go. Like our people just got to go a little bit deeper because I'm glad that
Okay.
we've gotten to a point to where we're researching. That's just the most important thing. We just have to understand that even though you are connected to this landmass, that means that you are connected to all of them
Okay.
because this
Okay.
landmass is not separate. Like we've never
Okay.
observed in nature where the tectonic plates were separate. Like,
Okay.
so when people say like, oh, like, Pangea, like people come in here, they love talking about Pangea. And then they think because under the theory of Pangea, it's suggesting that these land masses are not separate, but, or excuse me, that the land masses are separate, but underneath the ocean floor, y'all, is the tectonic plates. You keep going down past the lithosphere far enough, you get to the core. So when we're looking at these sinkholes and you're looking at the next layer of earth or the next part of the lithosphere, right? When
Right.
you keep going down more, especially through the ocean, you reach inner earth. So I don't understand why people think that the land masses is like something like not connected to. Y'all are basically saying that the planet is not connected. That's why I want y'all to, like, not you, but that's why I want
Yeah.
our
Yeah. Yeah.
people
Yeah. Yeah.
to realize what they're saying. If you think that this landmass is any different than that one, then you think that the planet is broken up and that it's not all one entity. That means
Oh.
that this would be a different planet over there, and it's not. All the life on here stems from one origin. That's what makes it a planet. That's all the plants here are the same. That's what makes it a planet. Every tree that you see in the forest is actually one organism.
I can feel
These
that.
yeah, these single trees are basically the mother trees again communicating to the daughter trees. I'm not making it up. Single cells split through binary fission. That replication is called what? The daughter cell. Same
Oh
thing
wow.
we see in nature is the same thing that we see with our DNA only. It's not with these people. So we got to stop splitting up our mother. That's the
Okay.
first thing. We got to stop splitting up our mother for sure. But we're gonna get there because through all the titles and the division, it's not gonna be any place for our people to turn but to nature, which is gonna force us together. I know y'all don't like hearing it, but these is not my words. This is our mother's words, which is my words. This is universal truth.
That's deep.
Yeah, water, even with the water separating or being in between the land, water is composed of what? Molecules. Molecules join together. They collide, just like binary fission, just like nuclear fission, to come together. Water brings things together, it doesn't separate.
Now I know this is a little off the rocker, but what I was just talking to my grandma about this. Would air be considered water?
Yeah, absolutely. In another form, for sure.
Okay, okay. I ain't gonna say that. That's all I wanted to know because I didn't really understand that because she just kept taking me like he was just talking about the Bible and stuff like that and things other things. But I just so a lot of this basically what's gonna come down to once everybody gets their little tidbit. We just need everybody to do their job. Like you're doing your job right here. We need other people to keep doing it so that way we can come to a sense of awareness to where certain things you can't hide no more. You just can't hide it. That
Hmm.
dirt is dirt, and this is snow, and you ain't gonna be able to hide it. And I really do appreciate your platform because you have you you just you went deep on me. Now I'm finna go into my think tank with my kids.
Hmm.
So we gonna do this, So, but I appreciate it. I'm finna go ahead and get down. Thanks for your
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. Gratitude. Thank you for sharing your frequency, my brother. I enjoyed that conversation. Yeah, y'all always hear me say it. We got to go a little bit deeper. The air and the water is connected. If we can study the phases of matter. Yeah, I almost forgot for a split second until I remembered again. But the phases of matter. You see what I'm saying? Water, and then when we can look at the crystalline state, fourth phase of matter, you have solids, liquids, gas. Then you have crystalline. Crystalline is basically ice, right? But it's not ice through sub-zero tech. It's the crystalline. structures that are formed through cymatics, through vibration, through sound that we can see in the water, that we can see throughout Earth's resonance. When we measure the Earth's vibration through the Schumann resonance, we can see little geometrical shapes within them, right? When we've been looking at like these flashes of white light on the Schumann resonance, you can see geometry, sacred geometry. And so the different phases of matter and different densities still link us back to the same source. It is a genetic expression. When you look at stars, they all come into a formation the same way, except for a 0.2 uniqueness, a 0.2% uniqueness. And that's because of the elements that they're composed of and what creates the Big Bang, right? The elements, the ingredients, the formula that would bring this into reality. So I hope I'm making sense to y'all. I hope that I'm answering a lot of y'all's questions and that it's helping you see things in a different perspective. Because if you don't like stuttering and shit like that, I stutter. I know exactly what I'm talking about. But because my brain be moving faster than my tongue, sometimes I stutter. You see what I'm saying? But all I do is study the universe. When I got off live, I was live the other day for 6 hours, over 6 hours. I didn't even sleep until we got off live at almost 3 a.m. I didn't sleep until almost 11 a.m. because I was studying photons. You know what I'm saying? They're saying that a photon is not a photon unless it's for the field around it. That when you take the field off of a photon, it's no longer a photon. So that's why I'm saying ether, etheric, right? Morphogenics, morphogenesis, morphology. You are not the body. You're the consciousness behind it. You take away the field, there is no life in the body, right? That's down to the atom, y'all. They say you can remove the field of a photon and it is no longer a photon anymore. We can take the morphogenic field out of the body. You are no longer alive because you've transcended beyond it. That's what that means. You see what I'm saying? Somebody said the black dot. Yeah, alchemical, right? The study of the black dot, neuromelanin, kundalini, rise of the black goo, the black substance, substantia nigra. All connected. Somebody mentioned Imhotep in the chat. First documented multi-genius, right? And they'll say that, but Imhotep came from his mother. This is what we create, right? The first discoverers of fire, alchemy, metallurgy, the first discoverers of particles, the first builders of the society were our women. And the woman, she's ejected those same qualities and placed them in the man. Our woman is the ultimate man. She is the womb man. What makes her the ultimate man is because she has the womb, the center point of creation. Is your womb separate from itself? No, it functions as one entity. That's how the womb that we're in, so-called Earth, functions. Earth functions like one whole entity with the rest of the cosmos. Yeah. So Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, all these other planets, Cygnus, these other stars, Kepler B, Kepler 45b, all these different stars, right, are connected to Earth. They send interstellar gases to each other. Earth sends signals to Jupiter. Jupiter, she responds back. That's why they say Earth speaks. I'll be like, do you understand what she's saying? Do you understand her frequency? Do you understand what her sister said? Her sister talking to you right now. Sister Saturn, Sister Jupiter, Sister Mercury said this. Did you get the download? Did you hear what they said? They trying to help raise her sister's frequency. And we on here laughing. You see what I'm saying? Our children is being snatched and we on here laughing. You see what I'm saying? So we got to go deeper, man. Our men, y'all got to start speaking up for our children, right? Y'all got to start speaking up for our women, right? If you understand you come from the great mother, you got to embody that. You're the divine masculine. So I was just trying to come on here and say that they said there's no cosmos. We cannot leave Earth. All right, bro, come explain it to me. Like, you see what I'm saying? You're saying there's no cosmos. Explain Earth. Come on, y'all. Explain how we can actually measure the interstellar gases from other planets. We can see it. I just seen it outside before the sun set. We seen radiation in the sky. You think that's just from here? Or does Earth have a top and a bottom? And because the North and the South poles are no longer cold and these ice caps are melting, it's adding in. She's able to breathe again. What you mean it ain't no more cosmos? What you mean Earth is the only planet? Explain the sun. What y'all be on here talking about? Explain the sun. If you're saying there's no other cosmos, explain the sun. Explain stars. Do I got to go outside and look at the stars? What is that I'm seeing up there? Don't call me no queen. I don't have animal DNA. Don't tell me it's lies. Tell me what is a lie. Y'all like saying shit isn't true and shit isn't a lie, but you can't explain it. Come explain it to me. You're saying it's all lies, but the sun is now in another part of the so-called world. It didn't disappear. It went somewhere. Earth is rotating on her axis. What's a lie about that when we can observe it? We use color imagers to detect what's... All right. I don't know. Go ahead, AJ. Did you mean to come up here, AJ?
Nah, I wasn't trying to come up. I'm at work, man. I was just listening.
All right, I got you. Rubbish from the books of YT supremacy. You believe in the fact that YT people are supreme over you? YT supremacy exists in your reality? I'm asking you about the mother's genetics. I didn't bring up YT people. I'm asking you the same things that are cyclical and reciprocal. We can see them and measure them every single day. Don't bring them in it. Let's talk about our planet. If you're the same as me, I don't know who I'm talking to. Right? Y'all are saying that it's a lie, but what are the elements that make up this planet? Where else are these elements found? Right? All right. Ain't no such thing as no YT supremacy in my reality at all. Ain't no way in hell a dog could be supreme over me, and a dog has introgress genes. I was thinking, doing some research, does the sun send hydrogen to Earth to create forms of water, H2O? Let's see, I was doing some research, does the sun send hydrogen? So everything in the universe, when you look at the base of what it's made of hydrogen. So it's not necessarily that the sun sends it, it is that. Right? Hydrogen, helium, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. Yeah, y'all. So evolution is the biggest lie ever told, because single cell organisms don't engulf another single cell organism to create a complex cell organism, right? A lot of people think that evolution is just talking about monkeys evolving into humans, but the theory takes it as far deep as the cells that make up the so-called human and the chimpanzees and the bonobos, right? Evolution is not just talking about so-called humans, it's talking about all life on this planet. When we look at all life that's on the planet, all life comes from one or two origins, meaning that it is created and crafted by the universe, or it is created by man and written into reality, or an entity, or whatever you want to call it, right? So all life does not stem from the same origin. As a matter of fact, some life forms are living off of the original or the biogenetic origin. Mosquitoes need blood from other organisms in order to have children. Parasitism. That's why I can't stand mosquitoes. That's why I can't stand some flies, because they do the same thing. If you need genetic material from other organisms to thrive, you're unnatural, right? And that's why these people need meat. That's why they need blood from other organisms and shit like that, because their cells are not alive. They get powered up from in vitro or fake light, electroporation. They don't get powered up by neuromelanin. All right. So Genjuity or whatever, if you have a question, feel free to request up. I didn't say that we came from monkeys. That's not even what I said. I literally said that evolution is explaining for all life. I said that it was a lie that they were saying that we came from monkeys. And then you just said, we didn't come from monkeys. I know, I just said that. All right, y'all. If nobody have a question, or if nobody wants to talk about this, we don't even have to talk about evolution. We could talk about anything. We could talk about stars. We could talk about planets, exoplanets. We could talk about butterflies, plants, anything. We could talk about reparations and how I don't think we should be chasing them. We could talk about how we're all the same, even though y'all don't want to believe that. Anybody that want to battle me, anybody that want to combat anything that I'm saying, anybody disagree with anything that I've said, even in another live, right? Let's see, legendaries requesting up. Somebody says sun. Speak about Caucasians genetics. I have been this whole time. Get them in here. I want to learn about their I mean, when it comes to their genetics, they undergo acute body radiation, meaning that's the reason why they turn red, because their cells, their body is becoming inflamed because of the sun. Their body is heating up because of the sun. A lot of people talk about spontaneous combustion, but I don't say spontaneous combustion because we actually know why the cell is being combusted and why it's breaking down. So it's not spontaneous at all. It's because these cells mutate because of the sun. Mutations happen because of the sun, right? It was a boy in here in the last live. He tried to say that genes will mutate because of tornadoes. And we was laughing at him because we've never heard anything like that before, and that doesn't make sense. But if he would have said the rising of the warm air plus the cooler air and how these airs mix and cause the tornadoes, we still would have linked it back to the sun, because the warm air is a byproduct of radiation being ground level. You see what I mean? That's what I mean by connecting dots, right? Taking it a step further and understanding the cause of things so you understand why it's happening, right? But somebody said, yeah, somebody has said that in the last live. They said what tanning beds do for them. Well, let me show you what happens to them under UVC light, radiation, or like when they put sunblock on. Let me show you what happens, because in these tanning beds and stuff too, they also, like cancer research, they use this red light, and that red light is radiation. And that's why a lot of them don't get healed. That's why there's no so-called cure for cancer, because they use radiology, right? And that red light just unalives the cell even more. It's a synthetic version of radiation, but still, their cells don't hold on to light like that at all. But I'm going to show you what sunblock does. And I promise that when I get off today, I'm going to have to compile like new, what's the name? So I don't have to scroll for so long. But let me see. Like this one right here. Like this girl right here. This is actually what sunblock looks under a UV camera. It gives them unintentional blackface. You see what I'm saying? And somebody said, what about people who say this is a simulation? It is a simulation. It's a simulation because what they've created is a electromagnetic grid. The Earth is actually more magnetic than it is electric. We're not really supposed to have all this electricity like these fake ions, these fake ionized particles. And what is it? Baby says it all the time. Starts with a C. I can't think of it, but these fake ionized particles, ionization in the atmosphere. You can literally see that this atmosphere, this environment, is the same thing that is mimicked in synthetic biology as a eukaryotic environment. Eukaryotic meaning true-seeded nucleus. It's a fake environment. So this is what allows their cells to move around a lot freer. Or they think that they have a sense of freedom, but their cells are literally being deteriorated. It deteriorates our cells because we should be directly connected to the earth. But there's this fake electrical grid plus earth and her resonance is what creates electromagnetism. Plus you have the moon, right? Which basically gives off antiphotons. That's what helps keep Earth in this resonance too, because it acts as a satellite. But I'm going to show you this man that's responsible for creating the grid. Let's see. And I've showed him before, like in the last recent lives. Where is he? Yeah, this man right here. This man, I've got to get his name. I'm going to get his name. But you see, it says 1880 reclusive self-taught telegraph operator with no university degree went to war with the greatest scientific minds of the British Empire. He won, changed mathematics of physics. He changed the mathematics of physics forever and quietly built the foundation for the entire modern electrical grid. So it's like this grid that we're operating on is electrical, and it's the same electricity that they use to splice cells, like electroporation. But when it comes to magnetism, you can create, like when I don't know if y'all were in here at the beginning when the YT man came in here talking about gravity, and he was like, well, if you're talking about evolution is just as simple as, or has the same validity as gravity. But gravity is really magnetism. What keeps all the planets in orbit, what keeps the sun in orbit, all the celestial bodies in orbit is magnetism. And when you study the sun, when you study the stars, literally what keeps them in orbit is their own magnetic field. Feminine energy is magnetic. It pulls in, it absorbs, right? Our cells act like black holes. That's why you can't splice into our cells. Because again, you need light to be able to cut into cells, but our cells are coated in light. So you can't cut. It just absorbs itself just like a black hole. So they can look, they can observe, they can create fake environments, pseudo environments, eukaryotic environments. They can feed you food, they can feed you sugar, they can feed you these different things that add antigens and affect the cell, which can distort the way that it looks. but it doesn't infiltrate, it doesn't penetrate the cell like it does for these other people. That's why these evolutionary and these synthetic biologists they talk about hijacking a cell. Being able to hijack a cell is just genetic engineering. You know what I mean? Somebody says something reminds me of the anime Castlevania. Yep. And this is 1880s. You see what I'm saying? Where a lot of them was trying to discover light. So that's why I'm saying you have these reptilians in these suits, these elites, these 13 bloodlines, the John D. Rockefellers of the world operating and inhabiting these suits. And then you got regular YT people like at the grocery store, right? The nigga at the counter, right? The doctor, right? Those people are not the same as the people that sit behind closed doors, right? So you'll have somebody like this that doesn't need education, just kind of came out of nowhere. Got niggas like Thomas Edison that are trying to find light so bad. But how is it that you're struggling to find light, but you can create things like the printing press? Printing press goes back to 1450s. So you're going to see inconsistencies with history, but genetics is explaining like these people are not even the same amongst themselves, and we see incomplete dominance. You got men that's out here manipulating shit, and you got niggas that's out here that's, you know what I'm saying, living off of what these other people have done. These other people are living off of our G side. But let me see, Niall, my bad. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering, like, how you feel about clouds? Do you think it's natural? Cause I kind of been thinking, I'm like, clouds kind of block the sun, and I kind of feel like it's not natural. I'm just asking, like, how do you feel about it?
You said, how do I feel about the sun?
Nah, nah. How you feel about clouds?
Uh, Clouds?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are cloud seeding for sure. Some of the cloud is just like everything else. Some of the clouds are real, some of them aren't. And it's crazy that you came up when I was talking about the charged ionized particles. That's how they're actually able to manipulate what's in the sky. My source for that would be studying CERN and studying the ionosphere. So the ionosphere is where all the ions are. When you study that, when you learn about how they function, you can manipulate them and you can create unnatural weather. So you have Earth. Earth naturally creates weather and weather anomalies due to radiation, due to the sun and how the sun influences that. But then you have cloud seeding. You have the manipulation of the atmosphere, which can induce things like rain. But when it comes to things like earthquakes, when it comes to fault lines and things like that, that still is a byproduct of what these people are doing because they're drilling in Earth's crust. And doing so is basically like them drilling in her blood. The oil is Earth's blood. The tectonic plates are her joints. So them drilling is what will cause these other weather anomalies, but it's still happening from an unnatural source, if that makes sense. So you have that, like everything that they're doing to her, which will create weather, and it's still from an unnatural cause. And then you have the manipulation of the ionosphere and the different particles, and these interstellar gases hold these different charges because they're, again, charged ionized particles. So adding other, like an external magnetic field, kind of like what you see in magnetofection with the splicing of cells, will then help manipulate and cause, again, fake weather anomalies that Earth is not naturally doing. That's the breakdown on that.
So, like, also, I want to ask, how do you feel about mosquitoes? Do you think that's natural also?
Yeah, I had just explained about 15 minutes ago that mosquitoes are unnatural because they need blood from other organisms in order to have children.
Okay, okay.
They're spliced as well. and a lot of your fleas and ticks and stuff like that, they're spliced organisms as well. And that's why these people share DNA with fruit flies. Like, one thing they tell you about fruit flies, if you got flies in the house, that there's a monitorial energy around you. They say that in, like, esoterics or spirituality. But that is the reason why a lot of these people are monitorial as fuck. Why they nosy. Why you have, like, the TikTok sound, when you're black, you're never really alone. Because these people share DNA with fruit flies. Monitorial, energetic, you know what I'm saying? Animals and insects. So this is what I mean. Like, you can look at a YT woman. She's composed of 25 to 30,000 different genetics. And she can share 60% of her DNA with fruit flies, but 40% with a rat or a mice. And that's what I mean by incomplete dominance. They're not 100% of anything. All of their DNA is percentages of different organisms that also share different percentages from different organisms. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like another thing too. Why do they tell you to donate your plasma?
The plasma is a part of our life force. You remember when I was talking about our blood? And I used to be a certified PT. So I used to do plasmapheresis all day long, and I gained a base understanding of hematology. So when it comes to the blood, your blood, a part of it is plasma, and it's very similar to like plasma energy when we're talking about the different phases of matter. So you have solids, liquids, gases, but what the schools don't like to talk about is plasma energy, right? And then you get into crystalline. There's like 8 to 12, really, like as much as like 15 different phases of matter. It's not just 4 or 3. But the plasma is composed of these, what is it? You got white blood cells, and then you have RBCs. It's basically, the plasma is used to create medicine. And I mean, when you go in a plasmapheresis place, they tell you that they're using it to help treat other patients, but they're not telling you what for. All of that is vitamins, nutrients, minerals, and that is what helps power up a lot of the machines that they're using behind closed doors. It's where they can collect stem cells as well, which helps power up a lot of these machines. But they need all of that material, that genetic material, because it is simply life force and vital. It's vitality. So vampire syndrome, we talked about that in here the other day. They like drinking blood. They like the adrenochrome. They like the organs. It's not even just plasma, the organs, the heart, the blood, these blood drives, these blood banks. Where do you think all that blood is going? And I actually used to work in at like Carter Blood Care, the corporate center. And I was working there while a lot of the workers were on strike. And they take you to, like, I shouldn't like be saying this, but I don't really care. But they take you on tour to the actual blood bank part, which is like not in the same building. I'd argue that because of the elevators, they literally are taking you below ground. They took us below ground, but they're trying to because I can't leave this floor and go outside. So it's a step below ground. And when you walk in, there's a huge like factory, like how if you walked in a factory, like a factory for blood. They don't allow talking. They don't allow, you can't, leak information and stuff like that. But you see literal, like, I don't know how to explain it, like rooms of like blood that they can come and like access and ship and take. So it's like they're not just, they can go to like this bay that might be classified as A, or this bay that might be classified as B, but they're coming in here specifically for B13 because they need that for a transfusion. So I already know that like what they're doing is not like ethical. And that's why I always talk about like the genetic engineers and I talk about the ethics and the morality, because that's the number one thing that's questioned in genetic engineering is this moral? Is this ethical? This Asian man created a 3-parent baby and only got 3 years for it. So
Mm.
there's a lot of like ethics. They say gas stations, really blood stations. Never heard of that, Branches. Never heard of that one. They said, can you explain why there are different blood types if we all come from the same source? Yeah, blood types are not connected to the source that we're connected from. They're connected to animals. Let me put the breakdown of antigens on the screen so that way you can see all the verbiage that goes with it instead of just hearing me talk about it. Because the more these people keep going off of the planet, the UVC radiation that they're saying that the sun is emitting, they're saying is a gene mutating, germ unaliving, detoxifying wavelength. So we're not going to have these antigens or these so-called blood types for, you know what I'm saying, for much longer. But let me see, get the breakdown on that. I gotta make it shorter. Let me see if it's in Eukaryotes, the Eukaryotes tab. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. I knew I was smart. All right, so antigens. Right here it says an antigen is a molecule that can trigger an immune response in a host organism. So if this is a host organism and it's being triggered, what do you think is triggering this host organism when we just talked about parasitism? You see what I mean? So it says the immune system recognizes antigens as foreign and potentially harmful, and it mounts a defense against them. This defense can include producing antibodies and activating immune cells to attack and destroy the invading pathogens. So basically what it's saying is that antigens attach themselves to the red blood cells. And when you eat according to the blood type, you're feeding the antigen. You're actually triggering an immunal response on a biological level. So these antigens, AB, A, O, O negative, O positive, are all connected to animals. Like O positive blood type is connected to zooborn chimps and pigs. So that's the breakdown on the antigens. The more that we take in the sun, that's actually what burns the impurities off of our red blood cells. And the cells become, they begin to look more prokaryotic without the cellular oppression of the antigen, right? Because it gets distorted. It changes, it affects the way that the cell look, but it doesn't infiltrate and change the genetic material. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to. Okay, they got it. But what did you say? What was you about to say, Niall?
Yeah, I was gonna say like like a lot of our people, us Black Americans, what causes a lot of us to say the sun is too hot for us is like, are we not eating healthy enough? Like what's causing that to happen?
Yep, we're eating meat. So when the sun hits our
Uh,
cells, it's burning off the impurities, it's burning off the antigens, which feel uncomfortable. And I went through like an 8-month period of feeling really uncomfortable while trying to transition until I got more bioelectric foods like in my body, more watermelon, more H3O2, more herbal teas, which is structured water. I don't have that problem. I can be outside, triple digit weather, 8+ hours a day working in the garden, high noon. It doesn't matter to me, and I'm fine. But when I was eating processed sugar, when I was eating meat, when I was drinking, when I was consuming tobacco, when I was doing all those things, it was hard for me to move, period. I had brain fog. I couldn't think straight. Now I can walk like 4+ hours a day and not be
mm,
tired. When I stop, I can just feel my blood pumping, you know what I'm saying? Like in my hips, in my
yeah.
thighs, but I'm not tired. Like I gotta push myself to see if I can walk 6 hours and if I'll be tired. Cause right now, 4.5 hours, I'm not tired at all. But I want to see like walking for like 6 to 8 hours, how I would feel. and see like what's my limit, and when I figure it out, push past it. But so far, so good, you know. Um, let's see. Yeah, in artificial sugar, facts. Artificial sugar is white, just like inflammation is white, just like salt is white, just like these people is white.
Mm,
Denisovan is Nephilim. No, they're not. Um, that's why the monkey people are only found along. I mean, if you say Denisovan are Nephilim because they're created by this entity and this, then yeah, if you're saying it because of that. But if you're saying that these people are above, like, I don't know what tech context you're talking about, but that's why the monkey people are only found along the Egyptian path to Eurasia. They found all over the globe. All right. The Book of Enoch, yep, they found all over the globe. The ancient Sumerians mixed genetics with the human plants and animals. Yeah, I mean, the ancient Sumerian tech does depict that. You're right. Let's see. Maxwell is a so-called, they created a radio wave generator that powers all technology without, yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. You can create electricity from plants. You see what I'm saying? Because of their morphogenetic field, bioelectric, you know what I'm saying? Bio meaning life, that electricity, that allomelanin, conductor. You see what I'm saying? These plants, they don't conduct light like we do. That's why they can only take like 4 to 6 hours, or 6 to 8 hours, or 8 to 10 hours. We can take the entire full spectrum all day. You know what I'm saying? Even at night. These YT people is getting sunburned at night. Knock my socks off when I hear
mm,
that. You see what I'm saying? And it's because of the radiation, right?
that makes sense.
I said, what about iodized sea salt? Nope. We just need to be doing sea salt, Celtic salt, or like ancient salt that comes from like the Utah deposit. Ancient salt or real salt. So it just needs to come from the earth. You can even extract salt from plants, but it's just got to be the right plants, and it just needs to come from earth. Iodized salt is terrible. You know what I'm saying? Stay away from iodized salt. But that same salt, like in that with the little girl with the in the rain with the umbrella, that kind, the Morton's, that's what's called Morton salt. They have the sea salt version of that.
Wow.
So you can get that instead, but not the iodized version. Or like these little salt and pepper packs, don't use that. Yeah, don't use that.
What about pink salt?
Yeah, pink salt, pink Himalayan salt is cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. That comes from the Himalayas, the sea out there, and the beach, the sand and stuff is pink. You know what I'm saying?
Um,
So are you saying plants shouldn't have electricity? No, they should. It's just they conduct it through a different melanin type than we do. They're allomelanated, we're neuromelanated. So they conduct light. They don't have neuromelanin, which is the only biochemical that is literally condensed sunlight in its composition. So because we are condensed sunlight, we can take the full spectrum all the way up to, I think it's like 28 million degrees. I think it is. I have to, my other half just got here. He can tell you because he has the source, but we can take the full spectrum, but plants cannot because they are allomelanated, which means that they are not able to conduct the same amount of magnetism or electricity as us, which is really the same thing. It's not really electricity, but we can call it that for the sake of the conversation. Radiation. And it says iodocetol is good based on my research. It's iodized. So I
so
don't know what research.
so do you think we're supposed to, like us as Black Americans, do you think we're supposed to follow the uh frugivore lifestyle?
Frugivore?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, for
Okay.
sure. Everything that we eat needs to be mainly fruits. You know what I'm saying? Legumes are fruits. So like chickpeas and lentils are fruits. Bell peppers are fruits, peppers are fruits, jalapeno is a fruit. And then you have actual fruits like berries, which are very good for the brain, very good for the production of neuromelanin. The blackberry looks exactly like the marula and it powers up the marula. You know what I'm saying? Blueberries are very good for the brain and detoxifying heavy metals in the brain. And then also like your herbs as well. Your cilantro is good for detoxifying heavy metals. And peppermint is very good for our women. Let's do peppermint over spearmint because spearmint is hybridized, but peppermint literally helps increase estrogen. It helps increase alertness. It helps also tackle polycystic ovarian syndrome, which a lot of our women struggle with. It attacks it at its core because it's anti-androgenic, meaning that it lowers male hormones in the women. So I would suggest the men only use peppermint sparingly. I wouldn't do it daily because it's anti-androgenic and it will lower your testosterone if you do it daily. But you can switch it out for something like cilantro. Now that's very good for the prostate, very good for testosterone. But for women, let's do peppermint, hibiscus for the herbs, marshmallow root, pau d'arco is good for us. Green tea is good for us. Then for the men, you got things like saw palmetto, ashwagandha, damiana. Those are good for the prostate health and making sure that circulation gets down to the phallus, right? You want to make sure that you're healthy as a man if you're procreating with women because your sperm, when you ejaculate, that gets pulled from every portion of your body and it goes into her, right? So you want to make sure that you're sparking the cell with the highest potency of light that you can do, right? That's what the sun does. The sun sends out what is known as solar prominences or coronal mass ejections, very similar to ejaculation, right? So when you look at the light that is extending to Earth, right, the prominence that is ejecting from the sun to the Earth is the exact same as when a man ejaculates. So, like I said, the planets and the sun is literally just like big ass atoms. Really, if you look at a solar system, it looks just like atoms, like they teach you in school. When they have you drawing the circles and stuff, that's just like a solar system. So,
Do you think the core and the earth is the sun?
yep,
Okay.
literally, it's Earth's inner sun. Yep,
Mm,
absolutely. So that's what I mean, like masculine and feminine energy. You know how that balance lies within the feminine. All the planets are feminine energy because they produce life. So she
mm.
has an inner sun, an inner core, and that's how she's able to self regenerate. That's how she's able to mimic, you know what I'm saying, like what the sun is doing because she is that, right? Um, her and the sun are one and the same. It's just different expressions of each other, different phases of evolution, so called too, when it comes to biogenic evolution, because meaning like conscious expansion. You know, she will go back into like a star state as well. That'll be her complete transcendence. And then from there, life will be regenerated again, even on that level.
Yeah. This is my last question. Why do you think humans are so evil, like through history?
Because their genetics is connected to unnatural life. So anything
Mm,
that is unnatural will go against nature. So I won't literally say that they're evil, but I would say that they're unnatural because evil, good, that all comes from morality, which is created by them, hedonism, ethics,
yeah.
all of that comes from them. So that way that they would give them playing field or give them a reason for why they were doing the things that they were doing to us and why they were doing the things on the planet. When you create ethics and morality, then it just gives them a reason to say, oh, well, this is moral and ethical because I said it is. When you look at like the medical field, it's built off of this quote by, is it Aristotle? I always be finna say Plato, but it's Aristotle. And he says, first, do no harm. But every single thing that they have done has been harmful to nature, right? They are not, you know what I'm saying, moral and ethical people. Like they just saying that. But yeah, she said they say the tea bags aren't good for us anymore. They're full of plastic, so we can't get the herbs that way. I mean, I wouldn't suggest it. I would suggest growing them. Like I grow peppermint, I grow catmint, I grow sage, I grow cilantro and basil. I would suggest growing them. Because even if you get it from them, they may be spraying those things with pesticides. You know, if you grow it out of your garden, even though it's outside, that's the cleanest it'll ever be, actually. In your garden, like in your home, that's the cleanest it'll be. So even if you put water on it and try to clean it, you just actually made it dirty. It was cleaner just fresh out of the ground. I mean, still go about your process and how you clean. Salt and sea salt is the best thing because like baking soda and vinegar, the fruits absorb all of that, and that can spike blood sugar, that can spike the endocrine system, in the heart. That's what I was trying to say. The heart, it can mess with the circadian rhythm. So I would say sea salt is the best thing if you're gonna do something like that. If you grow inside your home and if you don't really care too much about it, pull it straight out and cook with it or make a tea with it or whatever the case.
But appreciate you, Sky. Yeah, thank you for answering my question.
Yeah,
Have a
for
nice
sure.
day.
You too. Gratitude, my brother. Yeah, y'all. So you feel me? We just each one reach one. If you look, I gotta give big ups to primordial resonance. Gratitude to you, my brother, because that's a brother that came in here a few months and was like, we is not the same. We is not the same as these Africans, the indigenous American. We not the same. And then that brother started doing the research on his own. That brother started coming in here with facts. I be seeing his facts that he put in the comments. That brother doing some research and some real research too, right? He already had a base understanding of cymatics and base understanding of universal law. So it was easy for him to lock in with it. He came in here today. Now he's changed. Full 360. I don't get caught up in the titles. I don't get caught up in those things because what makes us who we are is our neuromelanin. Our neuromelanin is saying that we're all connected, not just to each other, but to the universe. Not just to this landmass, but to Mars, but to Neptune, Venus, right? There's not just pyramids on this planet or even on this landmass. There's pyramids on Mars, right? So we got to understand that what is happening here is a direct expression atomically for what's taking place on the sun and with these other planets as well. Our children need us. Our children need the truth. Let's stop lying to children. Let's stop lying to each other. If you lie to me, you'll lie to a child, right? If you can't articulate it, you can't articulate it to a child. So we got to start making sense of our reality for the next generation, because I have more so-called faith in teaching a child right now than in a brother or sister, because that brother or sister is holding on to that indoctrination, right? A lot of us don't want to shed the programming. We'll say that these people are animals, but then ask for them for reparations. That's a convoluted and contradicted way of thinking. That's showing me that there are sulcuses in the brain, that you're not unified within yourself when you contradict your own, you know what I'm saying, like your own approach to life. So I'm just saying that. She said, dang, I missed the beginning. I still have to download the live from the other day and get that one, put it out, because there's some things that were said in there that, you know what I'm saying, a lot of them people in that live proved our point. A lot of them did. They proved our point and they don't even see it. So I'll download that one I'll get this one downloaded. The link to my YouTube or to the lives are in my bio. If you check my story, you can click the YouTube link and it'll take you right to the YouTube. So gratitude for everybody. Yeah, they refuse to stand in the truth. They do. But what is the universe doing? You see what I'm saying? So gratitude for everybody for coming in, sharing your frequency.
I mean, even to this day, they dump all type of chemicals